One of the best things about The Last of Us Part 1 was the journey. The variety of creepy yet beautiful destroyed landscapes of post-apocalypse America was awesome. Hey stragglers and tourists, my name is TheiPadCat, and in today's video we're going over everything we know about the locations of The Last of Us Part 2. But it wouldn't be a true TheiPadCat video if we weren't speculating and discussing a bit as well, now would it? So once we're done with the confirmed stuff, we'll do that. But before we begin, I'd like to thank Castad37, a member on the TheiPadCat Discord server, for helping me compile all this stuff. Link to join is in the description. If there's any problem with it, just tell me in the comments and I'll fix it. I'd also like if more of you could follow me on Twitter, because YouTube doesn't notify everyone, but if you follow me on Twitter, I'll tweet whenever I upload a new video and when I'm about to stream, so you get the notification. That link is also in the description. But enough self-advertising, let's get into this. So way back, 1.5 years ago, isn't it crazy how it's been that long? The Last of Us Part 2 was announced at PSX 2016. I think everyone watching now has seen that trailer at least 15 times by now. I've probably seen it way more times than that, but that's beside the point. Almost nothing about the story, gameplay or setting could be gathered from it. However, there was also a panel. Overall it was pretty short on info, but it did have some good stuff in it. Some of that good stuff came in the form of a very short showcase of the new soundtrack. In the background for that soundtrack, however, there was a slideshow of some concept art for the game, and what do you know? Some genius actually managed to figure out where they were set. Reddit user CamKeys posted in the PS4 subreddit that the parking sign and parking meter in this picture can be found in Seattle, confirming that at least this picture would be set in Seattle. But that's not all. If you go to the seattle.gov website, you can actually see that these signs and meters were implemented in June 2013. If you didn't know, the apocalypse in The Last of Us began on September 26th, 2013. Lore-friendly parking signs. I like it. But wait, there is more. So much in one picture, right? Well, if we zoom in on the background, we can see a building through the foliage. And if we really focus, we can see that a sign on it reads Driftwood. And a bit to the right it says BU. Well, if we could turn the picture, we would see that it read Botnik. This building is actually called Botnik Building. This gives us an exact location where this picture is quote-unquote taken from, which is right here on the map. What's also important is that this building is located in a borough? Neighborhood? How do you say part of city in English? Anyways, it's located in what's called Pioneer Square. We'll come back to that in a moment. Moving on, we have this piece of concept art. Nothing special here, right?
Absolutely
Wrong.
true.
This is actually located only a short way away from the Botnik building, right here on the map. Also in Pioneer Square. Side note, from all we know about the cult so far, with their clothing style, I think we can say for sure that this person is supposed to be a Seraphite. So that was all we got out of the PSX 2016 panel. Fast forward 7 months to the PGW trailer, and we have more locations. This time people had a bit harder time doing their genius work, since no concept art accompanied the trailer. That didn't stop Reddit user Voltsby though. Most of the hints from this trailer is during the beginning, when the Seraphites are dragging the mystery woman. If we look closely, we can see 3 different signs. Two green ones and a yellow one. These signs are located on the I-5 highway, passing under what's called Holgate Street. This is however not located in Pioneer Square, rather, according to Voltsby, approximately 1.3 miles away from the Botnick building. Then, the last hint from the PGW trailer is the police car at the very end of the trailer. It's very similar to the Seattle PD cars in real life, which is yet another hint at Seattle. But I think we're already past that hint stage. Later at the panel during PSX 2017, Neil Druckmann confirmed that Seattle indeed would be featured in the game.
They let me ask whatever I want.
Yeah, we could say that. A large part of the game takes place in Seattle, which Reddit detectives have already figured out.
Then we have what most of you probably came here for. What's probably gonna be in the thumbnail for this video. The location of the E3 demo. This is where Pioneer Square comes in again. The entire demo is set very close to the Botnick building and the parking garage from the 2016 concept art. From what I gather from watching this gallery, which I'll link in the description if you're interested, Ellie stabs the Seraphite in the throat around here. And moves up this way towards this parking garage, which she passes through and comes out somewhere around here. When she runs away from the bowwoman, I've really got no idea where she's running. I went over the route in Google Maps several times, but I couldn't figure it out. Either I'm looking in the wrong place, or Naughty Dog took some creative liberty and altered the way Seattle in the game looks compared to real life. Although it looks like Ellie is jumping across some sort of sinkhole, so maybe that's why it looks weird. Anyways, apart from all these really specific locations, we know about one more confirmed location. And that's Jackson from the first game. We just know that the scenes with Ellie, Dina and Jesse take place somewhere there, but that's about it. We don't know anything about the dam or other nearby locations making a return. So that's all the confirmed stuff. For the next part of the video, I'd like to first talk a bit about these locations and what they could mean. And then I'd like to speculate on some other potential locations. So let's begin. We know that The Last of Us Part 2 is really ambitious in the environment department, and that they will be much more open than in the first game, as confirmed during the E3 panel. We also know that The Last of Us Part 2 is supposed to be a risk-taking game. So here's an idea. What if the entirety of Pioneer Square, or at least a large part of it, is open? I mean, we have multiple confirmed locations from both the demo and concept art, all in different parts of Pioneer Square. This would be a really interesting change from the first game, and I really think it is possible. Just look at Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. That game had few, but very large and open areas to explore, with a few exceptions. Maybe Part 2 is the same. I think there are both positive and negative things to this if it turns out to be true. One positive part of having fewer but more open areas is it offering much more replayability for missions or whatever. You could take different paths and approaches in different playthroughs. It would also allow for a bit of that exploration feel despite it being linear. I also would expect that Naughty Dog would be able to put a lot more detail into the environment and put more thought into the level design. In my personal opinion though, I don't think I'd be a fan of the entire game or the majority of it taking place in Seattle. As I said at the beginning of this video, one of the things that made the first game so great was the journey. The variety of environments. I mentioned this in my 5 things that should not be in The Last of Us Part 2 video. The emotional and relationship journey alongside the physical journey had such a good dynamic to it. What the characters felt and what they were going through was reflected in the locations and the seasons. I don't think I'd trade that for a more open game. If we could have both, then I'd be extremely happy. Who knows, maybe the Naughty Gods are that ambitious. Now let's move on to the speculation on what sort of other locations we could see. Personally, I think we will see, and I'd like to see, San Francisco. I think there is a lot pointing to this being possible. If you didn't know, originally, the first game was supposed to end in San Francisco. There is even concept art of it. Of course, it didn't happen, but it still has a lot of significance in post-apocalypse America. If we look at the lookouts note at the university, we see that people were supposed to have come and gone from a base in San Francisco. I brought this up in a video on the Fireflies I did a while back, where I theorized that this is potentially how we could encounter them in part 2, by going to their base in San Francisco. You can watch that video here. Another potential location could be Los Angeles. Now there isn't as much pointing toward this in my opinion. LA is first mentioned in the intro credits scene as the latest city to be placed under martial law. It's also mentioned jokingly by Ellie when she talks to Riley about their quote-unquote vacation, where they would go surfing in LA. Now there is an interesting tease from a Naughty Dog developer about LA in the TLOU universe. Take a look at this. John Sweeney, who works at Naughty Dog, posted this picture on Twitter titled Abandoned Los Angeles, before The Last of Us Part 2 was even announced. Very interesting. Though it could just be his personal art and have nothing to do with Part 2. He's probably under NDA or non-disclosure agreement, but who knows? There's also something in the epilogue of Uncharted 4 in Nate's daughter's room. There is a Savage Starlight poster on one of the walls. If you didn't know, Savage Starlight is a comic in The Last of Us' universe. But anyways, this poster is fastened on top of another poster, sort of pointing towards Los Angeles. Maybe a tease for its upcoming featuring in Part 2. And last for the Los Angeles stuff, we have the shirt Sarah is wearing in the prologue of the game. Yes, you heard that right, Sarah's shirt. It's a tour shirt for some band in The Last of Us' universe. What's interesting about that is that it features a lot of the locations we visit in the game. Now you might say that it's just a random selection of US cities, but I beg to differ. Jackson is on there, and Jackson, like the University of Eastern Colorado, is a made-up place for The Last of Us. And Los Angeles is on there too. Maybe yet another tease? I wonder, like the first game was largely set on the East Coast, will this game be mostly set on the West Coast? Finally, I just think it's interesting how Naughty Dog seems to be recreating the locations we visit almost as they look in real life. In the first game, most of the places we visit are just loosely based on their real counterparts. I really like that. But that's just what I think. What do you think? Do you agree with my points? Disagree? What locations do you think we will see, and which do you want to see in Part 2? Tell me in the comments down below and let's discuss it. And until next time, have a great day.